Uh, Good evening, everybody. I wanted to thank everybody for joining us. And I sent out the agenda and the revised agenda about an hour or two ago, so I hope everybody received it. And again, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I hope I didn't get a message from Bob. It was his call sign was contained a 9, so I don't know if he's going to be joining us, but anyway, if he I don't see him listed. So anyway, we'll continue on with the meeting. Are there any additions to the agenda? Hearing none. Are there any new members out there? I don't see any. Okay, so again, we have Emily from Connecticut. Do you want to introduce yourself if you haven't already?
Sure. No, I haven't. My name's Emily Clarke, N1DID, and I am a friend of Lindsay's. We were both members of the San Mateo Radio Club and longtime field day participants. So Lindsay and I were talking, I guess, a couple months ago, and Lindsay said, "Hey, would you like to do a presentation to our radio club?" And I said, "Well, sure. What kind of?" And he says, "Pick whatever you want." So I thought I'd start off with something that you might all know, but maybe not. But it's essentially one of the first presentations that I give to people in my club. I am not, right now, I'm the vice president of my club, but I was the original president, and this year they couldn't find anybody to be vice president, so I stepped back in. But I truly believe that the best thing for a radio club is to have younger people and have a regular change of management so that, people get new ideas and learn different skills and things like that. So I've lived in Connecticut now for 7 years. It's going to be -1 degree Fahrenheit tonight. So you guys in California can be thankful that you don't live here. What else can I say? I have DXCC. I got a couple of ARRL plaques on my wall here for contesting. So which is my primary focus in ham radio. But I was the district emergency coordinator for my county here a couple of years ago. I'm in Aries, and I guess that's about. I'll just shut up and start.
What about AMSAT?
Yeah, I used to be on the board of AMSAT when they actually when they were launching real satellites. So, but I'm no longer involved with AMSAT. To be honest, if I was going to get back into satellites, I'd probably be talking to the Chinese anyway, because they're the only ones really launching a lot of satellites.
Emily,
Yes.
We have a few newish members joining us tonight. So can you explain what AMSAT is?
Oh, sure. AMSAT is the Amateur Radio Satellite Corporation. It's launched basically. So I used to be vice president of Project Oscar, and Project Oscar was the organization that launched the first 3 amateur satellites. And then AMSAT was formed in Washington, D.C. and kind of took over that role. There are amateur satellites that you can use. I'll be happy to come back and give a presentation on those at some point as well. for the most part, you can, even technicians can get on amateur satellites. There's also an amateur repeater on the ISS. So yeah, it's for I had already worked 70 countries, I think, before I got my general license, because I was using amateur satellites to do it. So it's kind of a cool thing. Anything else I should talk about? I think I should just give the presentation. We can talk.
Go for it, Emily.
All right, let me see if I can share my screen. I can. And let's see, which one am I sharing here? Must be this one. And let me try this one. Yeah, that's the one to share, I think. I wonder if I can actually get this into full screen mode here. Let's do full screen. I don't think so. All right, so anyway, this is this presentation is, can everybody see the slides?
Yes.
Okay, great. So one of the first things that when I took over, and so K6ARC had been around for a while, but the president died. At one time they had 40 members, and the president died at a time when there were no members. And I'm sorry, there was one other member who was me, and then there was a non-paying member who was the vice president. And he came to me and he says, "Can you be the president of the club?" And I said, "No, I didn't want to be." But eventually they convinced me to become president of the club, and I got it restarted again, and we were up to about 35 members. But, you know, like all things after the pandemic, things kind of tapered down. But one of the biggest complaints that I found when we restarted the club was all these folks who were technicians who had cheap, you know, handheld radios, mostly Baofangs, and they were all saying, "Hey, how come I can't get into the repeater? How come nobody hears me on the nets?" and things like that. So I put together this presentation, and hopefully this will help you guys as well. This is called Handie Talkie Antenna Basics, and it really will start at the basic level, and we'll see where we go from here. So the first thing I want to do is just go over some real basic stuff. So what's a wavelength? Most people learn this in their technician class and typically immediately forget about it, which is understandable because it's not one of those things that's super important. But a wavelength is one cycle of any kind. Could be waves in the ocean, could be magnetic waves, could be electromagnetic waves. We're dealing with electromagnetic waves. And they have a crest and a trough, and one wavelength is measured between either the two crests or two troughs. It doesn't really make any difference. And the length of that converts into frequency. And from your testing, you know that the 2 meter band wavelength is 936 over the frequency, so 144 megahertz, and that comes out to about 2 meters, which is why we call it the 2 meter band. So what is a loading coil? Well, we also work on 70 centimeters here in Connecticut, and you probably do there in California as well. And a loading coil is just an inductor like this guy right here that's used to change the inductance of a circuit. In other words, it's going to change the tuning of it. In a vertical antenna, it's used to either electrically lengthen an antenna that otherwise would be too short, but it can also be used as a trap to provide resonance for higher frequency. And that's how we get dual band antennas. And usually we see these are the base or the middle of an antenna. This one happens, this is on my Volvo, and this one happens to be kind of close to the bottom, but it's a short antenna because otherwise I couldn't pull it into my garage. And just to give you an idea, this is not a new thing. this is an actual loading coil. And this was for a low frequency radio telegraph system that Bell Labs was operating in New Jersey around 1912. And the frequency this was being used for was somewhere in the neighborhood of about 400 megahertz. I'm sorry, 400 kilohertz. Sorry, no, that's wrong. It was 90 kilohertz. So a quick primer on this is that the most simple antenna we have, we call a half-wave dipole. For those of you who are general or an extra, you know this antenna very well. It's a quarter wave on each side, and if you look at it, it basically takes up half a wave. You know, so it goes from the peak to the trough. And so it's 1/2 of a wavelength. And this is a really good, simple antenna that works very well. And they can be of any wavelength, but they need to resonate. I'm sorry, they can be of any length, but the length is going to be, I'm sorry, let me back up a little bit. They can be of any wavelength, but need to resonate at a specific wavelength. In other words, if you have an 80-meter dipole, which is a half-wave dipole, so it's going to end up being roughly about 120, 130 feet. It's only going to resonate on 80 meters. Now, we'll go, you know, we can go into other things another time, but for the most part, they're cut for a specific frequency. We can change that. For example, I don't have any dipoles. I do have off-center fed dipoles, and those off-center fed dipoles resonate at multiple bands. In fact, I have one that resonates pretty much on every band. As we transmit, the waves of electromagnetic energy, they get emitted from this half-wave dipole and they start spreading out. And not so much at the ends of those dipoles, but around the outside of them. And that's what propagation basically is. Well, that works out really well if you're going to go east and west or north and south, but it doesn't work very well if you're trying to go all around. And that's where a vertical antenna comes in. Now, you could just take that dipole, you know, that's horizontal, and you could flip it on its side and make it vertical. But the problem is now you got 130-foot high antenna. And, you know, that's it's kind of hard to, even my trees, I have 700-year-old trees in my yard here that are, you know, pretty high. They're like 110 feet, but they're not 130. And I can't really put an antenna at the very tippy top of them. The main thing is to come up with a way of using a vertical antenna where it's only a quarter wavelength. And the reason we can do that is we're essentially moving the other half of that dipole. We're going to make that into ground. And we're just, the better the ground, the better the propagation for that is. Sometimes here, like I have a stream that runs by my house. So I have for my 160-meter dipole, I have 4 8-foot copper rods that are driven into that stream. So it's nice and wet. But in California, you don't really have, you know, wet ground like I do here in Connecticut. So you have to come up with some way, and you'll hear people talk about radials. It's the same thing, they're artificial grounds. And you've probably seen them before. This is a ground plane antenna that I made a couple of years ago. And this was for 1.2 gig just as a test. And essentially, this is the quarter wavelength here. And these are the radials, which form the artificial ground. And the radiation pattern basically comes around like this, which is perfect for what we need for local communications. So you can also find vertical dipoles on cars. This happens to be one that I I borrowed from a friend in Scotland. I'm sorry, in Ireland. And this is on top of my rent-a-car. And this is a dual band vertical. And it's 70 centimeters on the bottom. And then it's got this little trap. And it goes up to 2 meters at the top. And you can use this on top of any car. It's really nice because, you know, the roof of the car is metal. And that's going to perform the ground plane function. And if you want to use it in a house, well, you can just take it off the roof of your car and stick it on a pie plate, or, you know, a really nice little cookie sheet. Cookie sheets work really well. When we were doing emergency training for the health department here in the health departments here in the county, we actually put them on filing cabinets in their office. So let's talk about antenna gain really quickly. Antenna gain is usually measured against an isotropic antenna. Now, this is a theoretical antenna. It doesn't really exist, but it's essentially one that radiates equally in horizontal and vertical, and it has a gain of 1 dB and an efficiency of 100%. Like I said, it's theoretical. It doesn't exist. But this is basically what we compare everything else to. So when we talk about gain, it's over the amount that this is here. Okay, so why is gain important? Gain is important because the higher the gain of your antenna, the more more efficient it is. So you're going to be transferring more power into these electromagnetic waves that are going to be transmitted to other people who are listening. So what antenna came with your radio? Well, let's see, this is a Baofeng here, and the standard antenna that comes with it is quite small. I mean, look at that. It's really small. If we looked at our 2-meter antenna, a quarter wave antenna should be about 50 centimeters or about 19.6 inches. Well, this one's only 5 inches long. That's not even anywhere close. That's more like a quarter of a quarter wavelength. So how did this antenna get so small? Well, if we look inside, it's got all this stuff coiled up. Now, this is not acting as a trap in this particular case. It's actually acting as just a coil that's an antenna that is allowing you to stuff more wire in a shorter space. Unfortunately, the more coil that there's there, the less efficient the antenna is. And so they're not really all that great. So I have several HT antennas, including a mobile antenna that I've used with an HT. And you can see here, these are the standard ones that will come with HTs. I prefer, you know, at a minimum to use a quarter wave. They're nice and flexible. But also I have this nice big guy that's a 5/8 wave. And the 5/8 wave is magical because 5/8 wave antennas have incredible amounts of gain. And you can see that my mobile antenna is the same length as this handheld. And why do I use it? Well, I use the 5/8 wave because, for one, it's got more gain and it's higher above the ground. So if you're standing on the ground and you put this antenna up and it's 5/8 wave and you're holding it like this next to your head, first of all, it's radiating higher away from you, so your brain will be happy in the long run. And then also it's above the terrain, you know, so you're going to get a little bit more distance there, but it has really more gain. Now, there's some disadvantages of it. It's a little more expensive, it's a little heavier, and it's not flexible even when it's collapsed. But, you know, it's really a great antenna. It costs about, I don't know, 14, 15. No, it's a little more than that now. It's probably about 24 bucks. So why 5/8 wave? Well, quarter wave provides a good level of performance, but an additional gain can be had by just lengthening it by another eighth of a wavelength. So if we look at the gain that we're getting here, if we have a half wave gain dipole, now remember, these are going to be compared to an isotropic antenna. Half wave dipole has about 1.64 dB of gain and 0 dBd. If we go to a quarter wave vertical, so look at where it drops to 1.2 and it's down to minus 0.7 dBd, not important. Half wave vertical, we're up to, whoa, we double, a little bit more than double the quarter wave vertical. So that's a good thing. So if we go back here to this quarter wave, it's not so good a half wave, which would be about up to here. The half wave antenna would be roughly, I forget, should be, the half wave should be 19 inches, I think. I guess this is actually a half wave. Yeah, I guess it is a half wave. That's a mistake. It should be half wave. And but look at the 5/8 wave vertical, 5.6 dB of gain. That's a lot. In other words, that basically means that your 5 watt or 4 watt Baofeng is now putting out, oh, roughly about the equivalent of 11 watts. So it makes a big difference to have that longer antenna, and you get 4 times the gain. It's not too bad. So what range can you really expect from an HT? Well, range really, oh, and by the way, getting the 8 watt Baofeng doesn't really, it really doesn't put out 8 watts. You'll be lucky if you get 5. So let's take a regular good 5 watt UHF hand held, like a Yaesu FT60 or something like that. Happens to be one of my favorite HTs because it's simple to use, easy to program, and not very expensive. So with the stock antenna, you can expect about the following. In open terrain, you'd be lucky to get 4.5 miles. Now, if you happen to live, close by a repeater, that's not so bad. But that's line of sight type of stuff. On UHF, you're going to have to be about 4 miles, within 4 miles. If you're in the suburbs and there's lots of houses around, you're going to be looking at roughly about 3.5 miles, 2.5 on UHF. Why? Well, you've got obstacles in the way, particularly like here in Connecticut. We have heavy foliage, we have lots of trees. And so, trees are going to get in the way. In urban setting, it's going to drop down even more because you got buildings in the way. And in some cases, this is very optimistic. But luckily, if you bounce off buildings, sometimes you can get 3 miles without a problem. But look at this inside of a building. You got 25 floors if you're lucky, and 15 if you're not. And I thought about this, and so I called a friend of mine who works, in a big high-rise building, and who's the engineer for it. And I said, how do you get good communications in your building? He goes, oh, we have repeaters on every 5 floors. So they actually have to have repeaters inside the building. So if you do put on a higher gain antenna, you're going to get a lot better reception. This is going to all go up, and it really does help a lot. If you look here, so let's look at the flat terrain numbers just for an example. It'll go up by quite a bit. That should be not quiet, sorry. And check it out. So the stock antenna, you're good for about 4.5 miles. Quarter wave, about 9, 5/8 wave about 18, 5/8 wave mobile 17, and you can see the UHF numbers are a little bit lower. When summer comes around, leaves appear on trees and those numbers will go down. And why do the mobile numbers go down? Well, it has a coax cable. You got about 10 feet. It's not going down a great deal. But most of the time, if you're in a car, you're going to have 25, 50 watts anyway. But if you're using a handheld, the numbers will go down because you've got signal loss in the cable. Usually they put RG59 or RG58. I always get those two mixed up. Anyway, you got an RG50X type of cable on that, and it's got quite a lot of loss in VHF UHF range. So you're going to lose about a dB or so. So what does that mean? Well, I didn't draw this for California, but here in Connecticut, so our repeater is in downtown Bridgeport. We have one on top of the hospital and another one on the other side of town. I happen to live up here. Let's see, where's that lake? Yeah, I live up here on this lake up here. It's actually a reservoir. And stock antenna is about 4 miles, and that's for full quieting. Okay. If you're lucky. Quarter wave, you're going to be about 9 miles. So with a quarter wave antenna, I can hit the repeaters no problem. And yeah, I'm pretty close to being full quieting. And the reason is because I'm actually about 400 feet above. And so I don't have as many obstacles as a standard suburban type person would. And then with the 5/8 wave, this is pretty much about what you would get. It's quite a bit more. I can hit parts of Long Island, and there happens to be a repeater right here on that point. And up here in Danbury, there's a repeater that I use a lot. The repeater is actually here, and that's kind of important because for mutual aid, we have to be able to hit them guys. And fortunately, their repeater is on a big tower that overlooks the airport. So I don't have any trouble from my house hitting them, but from downtown, it's not that great. So the assumptions are full 5 watts, line of sight, no obstacles, 6 foot above the ground, and facing the repeater. Why do I say facing the repeater? If you're standing there and you're talking in your HT like this, and your back's to the repeater, your head's in the way. You don't really want that. Caveats, the results are going to vary. Now in California, you guys are lucky. You might have a repeater up at 7,000 feet. And why is that good? Well, I can tell you that I used to use a 1.2 gig repeater on 1 watt, but the repeater was at 7,000 feet and I was at 1,200 feet, and there were no obstacles anywhere in the way. And 1.2 gig is really sweet. So conditions are going to be really important, and it really pays to look at your topographic maps. Ranges do not indicate full quieting. That's going to really depend on how well your line of sight is. And if you really are expecting to brute force for full quieting, you're going to cut these ranges in half. So for emergency, an emergency situation, you guys have been having quite a few of those lately. Your Baofeng's really only going to be good in town. And for simplex, probably not so good, because the thing is, repeaters generally have pretty good gain antennas. So, I mean, our VHF repeater, I don't know about the UHF repeater because I haven't worked on it, but the VHF repeater, the antenna on that is 13 dB a gain. So it's a pretty gainful 2-meter antenna. So dead spots can occur because of terrain, vegetation, building design, repeater location, and where the antenna is on a tower. Now, a lot of people say, oh, we've got our antenna up there on the tower on top of the fires, next to the fire station or something like that. But here's the deal. Prime space is at the top. And most of the time, if you're not, unless you're paying for it, you're not going to get, up here on top. You're just not going to, it's just not going to happen. You're more than likely going to be on one of these little standoffs, and you can see over here, there's one, there's a couple of over here. And so, you're going to be down lower. Also, it's harder to get, you're not going to get a lot of space for gain. The best antennas that I found, if you're like covering an area and you're coming in from a mountain top, you're going to use something like a corner reflector, which is going to give you a lot of gain in one direction, and it's also going to block out any noise and interference from all the other stuff that's on the tower. But on the other hand, here's the thing. Beggars can't be choosers. So if your antenna's on this side and your town's over here, that side of the tower is in the way. So all this stuff takes a lot of planning. So it also depends on where you are. And I love this particular thing. This is the Merritt Parkway. It's one of the most heaviest traveled, believe it or not, it's not an interstate, but it is one of the most heavily traveled roads in the Northeast, because it's the main artery between New York City and Boston, and trucks aren't allowed on it. So a lot of cars. But it's very hilly. People don't realize Connecticut has a lot of hills. Now they're not huge. That's about, from the bottom here is up to there is probably about 400 feet change in elevation, but still, if you're driving along the highway and you're trying to get to somebody on the other side of that hill, guess what? You get down here, you're not going to hear them. If you're up here, you might not hear them either. If you're up there, oh yeah, you can go all the way. But signals will go down in deep valleys, and you guys have a lot of them out there. They go up on the top of the hills. Line of sight is critical once you get above, 30 megahertz. And the more power and a better antenna can't always help. So you'll hear this all the time on repeaters. People will say, improve your position, call us back when you can improve your position. And the reason is because you've got to have line of sight. So this is Connecticut. Everybody thinks it looks nice and flat, right? It's got this really nice little layout here. We got the shoreline, and people don't realize that up here people are skiing. Whoops, where's my topographic? Oh, it must be in the other presentation. I replaced this with a topographic map. And believe me, up here, people ski all the time. This is about 1,200 feet above sea level up here at the top of those peaks. Down here between, let's see, where's Bridgeport? So Bridgeport's, believe it or not, the most popular city in the state. It looks like Hartford might be because that's the capital. It's not. Waterbury's not that populous. New Haven has a lot of people in it, but they're all students and they don't really live there. But Bridgeport, where's Bridgeport? Oh, here we are. Bridgeport is the most populous city in the state. From there to where I live up here, that's 600 feet in elevation change. It doesn't sound like much, but it is quite a lot, because all of a sudden it's flat and then it goes straight up. And so we have like an escarpment that runs along between here and here. And it doesn't go along the whole region, but it is. But you can see before in this other, we got pretty good sized hills. And if you're trying to hit the repeater, which is on the other side, and this hill's 400 feet high, guess what? You're not going to hit that repeater. You might if you knife edge off the top of here, but it's not very reliable. So anyway, in conclusion, don't expect too much out of your $25 Handie Talkie that you bought off of AliExpress. For $25, you get about $25 worth of performance. Know where your repeaters are located, and make sure that you actually know what their line of sight is. Know what obstacles are there as well. And, invest, set a budget, buy the best equipment you can. A good antenna is always a really good investment. Even if you're buying a J-pole, which is not the best antenna in the world, as long as you can get it outside your house, it's going to be okay. But I highly recommend, I have to say that the best antenna that anybody can put on their house for the money is the Diamond X50. I still have my original Diamond X50 that I had in California. And with that antenna, I could hit repeaters that were 200 miles away, 300 miles away because of the elevation differences. And the other thing is make sure you get advice. Seek out an Elmer, ask them for help, and it'll save you from making some poor purchases. So, and also, to be honest with you, buy reliable equipment. It's the best thing you can do. So, with that, questions? I'm going to stop the sharing here, but I'll maybe pop it back up again. Does anybody have any questions that I can answer?
I think it was a great presentation. Thank you very much. We appreciate the information.
You're quite welcome. Like I say, antennas are something people don't really think about, particularly Handie Talkie antennas, but when an emergency hits, they're important. Okay. Well, listen, thanks guys. It's going on 11 here, so I'm going to say sayonara, but
Thanks again, Emily. Appreciate it very much.
anytime.
Yeah, thank you. It was great.
Emily, I have one question.
Oh yeah, sure.
I have a Yaesu FT7D, that's 70D, David. If
Yes.
I'm in a place where I think I may be having trouble reaching a repeater, would I be better off using 440 or 2 meter?
Well, the first thing I would find out is, are the two repeaters located in the same place?
They are.
They are. Okay. And what kind of antenna do you have?
I have the original one on this Yaesu.
Yeah, I would get it before I made any decision. Well, first of all, I prefer UHF because it just sounds better. It has more bandwidth and it's more natural sounding. You have what is it, 3 kilohertz of audio bandwidth on that, where you have I think 16 kilohertz of, or 1.6 kilohertz. Oh, sorry, let me rephrase it. You have about 3 kilohertz of audio bandwidth on the UHF and 1.6 on VHF. So UHF is always going to sound better, but UHF is more likely to require more power or more oomph. So given that you can't change the power in your Yaesu, I would highly recommend investing in a better antenna. I would get, let me share again here. Let me get back and share this one. I think that's the right one. Yeah, or this one. It's one of those. I think it's this one. If you've got this type of an antenna now, it's really
It's
short like that.
It's something like that.
Yeah, I would highly recommend getting one of these guys. Let me see if I can let me throw up a.
Are you able to see me?
Yes.
Okay, I'll hold it up here.
Okay. Yeah, that's the basic stock antenna. So I think this is the right one. Yeah, the Nagoya NA771 is about $20, and it's a really great antenna, and it comes for,
Yeah.
you know, it's VHF and UHF both. The other antenna that I like, I would not recommend these little tiny whippy things. They don't really work that well. These tactical antennas work pretty well, but make sure you don't keep them folded up when you're transmitting. And let's see. Let me find a. There you go. Here's that long one that I have, and it's only $10. And I like the orange because that way I know who's trying to steal my radio.
And that will fit my Yaesu?
Yeah, now you have to be careful that you make sure that you look for, see here it says, you guys can see this, right?
Yes.
We can see it.
So you have to figure out if it's SMA male or SMA female on your radio. And I'm not familiar enough with the 70 to know, but I suspect that it needs an SMA male antenna.
Yeah,
But-
it takes the same antenna as an FT60.
Well, my FT60, which was the non-R, was the original FT60 that used the female, but I think they changed it now to a male.
How will I know?
Well, if you take your antenna off and you look in, and if you have this, let me try to click on this here. If you see this little thing here,
Yeah,
okay, that's the female connection. I think, yeah. And if you look inside your radio, you should see a center conductor.
there's
In
just
the-
a little hole in the center there.
Yeah, oh, a little
Little
hole in the center. Then you need the male
You need
antenna.
you need the male antenna for most Yaesus. Well, they've come up with some other odd ones now, but most Yaesus take a male antenna, as do
Okay.
most Kenwoods.
Right.
Okay.
Although I have the Kenwood, what is my Kenwood? My Kenwood is the THD 74, and that they changed it on that one. But that's a tri-band antenna, so it wouldn't make a difference. But anyway, and the nice thing is Amazon will let you return it if it's the wrong one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would definitely get a bigger antenna. And let me see if I can find the let's see. Here we go. This is the 5/8 wave, and that one is $17. And they do come in male and female versions. So find out which one your radio needs, and that's the one that you're going to want to use.
Okay, thank you very much. Excellent presentation.
Yeah, actually, this one does fit on my Baofeng and all my other radios too. So yeah, and that's the kind of antenna. If you're having trouble getting into a repeater, this will be much better. But again, it's heavier and it's bulkier and it's not flexible. So you have to be sure not to drop it, and things like that. But you know, for everyday use, the Nagoya NA771 it's a great antenna. There are other ones that are, you know, there's all kinds of these tactical things. I have to say I've never tried anything like that. Or this kind here, they're foldable, but it's still only the same as the Nagoya. It's, you know, well, it's 18, it's a half wave. This one's a half wave. This is 3/8 wave. So yeah, that's what I would use. But
Okay, thank you very
I
much.
like my orange one.
Well, orange is
Anything?
not my favorite color, but I will pick out something.
Yeah, like I said, there was a whole bunch of us that had bought Anytone 878 DMR radios at the same time. And somebody was always walking off with mine. So I got the orange antenna, so I knew who was walking away with it. Anything else? Okay, guys, thanks a lot.
All right.
Thanks, Emily, and good night.
Okay,
Thank
take
you.
care.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you for joining us. That was an excellent presentation. And thank you
Anytime.
again.
You bet. Take care and sleep well when the time comes.
Thank you.
You too.
That'll be in about 10 minutes.
Oh, good.
I have to go walk the dog.
All right. Thank you. Thank you again. That was great. So next on the agenda is the treasurer's report. I didn't receive one from John for the month of January. I haven't received one yet, but I have received, he sent me the annual report for last year. So if anybody needs a copy of that, just let me know and I'll send the annual report to you for last year. Next is Aries report, and I assume Don will be talking about Party Pardee. So go ahead, Don.
Thank you much, Paul. Anyhow, well, our sign-up sheet, to fill all the positions, we actually need 19 people, okay? And right now we have 16, and we have one that has come not from our club, okay? He's actually out in Winters, so, but very interested. He, one of the other clubs had posted that we were having the Party Pardee, and he's said it sounded like it would be a great idea. So he's volunteered. So we're still short people. Okay. We can staff everywhere, but unfortunately, when we get to the rest stops, there won't be 2 people. There'll only be 1, because we have to staff the sag wagons. That's not, we can't get away with that. Okay. That seems to be, so we still need some more people, you know, but the t-shirts have been ordered, and I fudged on the number. So we actually have more shirts coming than we have people. Okay. But fortunately that's good, because we've already used one of those extras that I bought. So, or arranged for. Okay. Other than that, I understand that they have very close to 1,000 bike riders signed up. Now we know that not all of them show up. Okay. Their permit is for 1,500. So, and in rides before, I thought it was 1,200, but it was 1,500 for sure, guaranteed. So they may have more now. I haven't been in contact with them lately. Okay, after we did the t-shirt thing. So other than that, Aries, we haven't had any call outs or anything. Paul hasn't called us out. He's been out, but he hasn't called us out. So we're still okay. So get new antennas for your Bofangs.
Dan has his hand raised up.
Yes, Dan.
Yeah, Don, I cannot guarantee that Nancy and I will be here. But if we are and you need some support, why, we'll keep in touch and let you know.
Oh, okay. I had not counted you and Nancy because I knew that you were in your possible move time. Okay, don't know. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that. It's always, you're always welcome to come.
Thank you.
Anything else? Melissa, I don't know what to do with you. I think I'm going to put you at a rest stop. That way you don't have to do any, well, I can't put you in a sag wagon. Okay, that would be not good. Okay. And so I think we go maybe rest stop 1 along with Dennis King. Okay. So I think that would be good because it's the first one. It gets done earlier. You can come back to Howard Park. Okay. And commiserate with all the rest of the guys or not. You know what I mean? I mean, it makes a little shorter day for you also. So we have to
Okay,
think
that
about
sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Yeah, see, that's the reason.
I was
All
going
right.
to ask, why can't you put her in a sag? But I guess that's the reason.
Yeah, that little noise that you heard there was the reason.
Nobody wants to hear that all day.
Yeah.
Promise. I
And
don't
have
want to hear it all day.
Have to make more convenience stops. All right, that's it. Back to you, Paul.
All right. Thank you, Don. Excellent job again, as usual, on staffing everything. And if we only have to go with one person at a rest stop, we'll do that. And we'll just have to be aware of the restroom breaks. There'll be a pause in the transmissions. But other than that, that's good. All right. Thank you, Don. Next is old business. Again, annual dues are due right now, and you can mail your dues to our PO box in Pine Grove. But I'm pretty sure everybody who's on this meeting has already renewed. So I'm speaking to the choir, but anyway, the dues are now due for this year. Next, under new business, we have I put on the agenda for are we going to have a ham cram this spring? And Howard, if you're out there, or Don, or can you answer that question, please?
Well, so far, yeah, it would be nice. I don't have a problem with it. Okay, to have it. The crams are pretty easy to put on because it's only one day.
Right.
We'll have to advertise. We'll have to think about a day to do it, and that way we can advertise for it. I actually have 2 people that are interested in a ham cram now. Okay, they would hold off until we did that. So, but they've actually got their names in. So
Good.
So we need to decide when.
Well, that's up to you. Whenever you can get a chance, maybe I was going to say in March, but that's next month already. So, but anyway, it's your decision. And usually I think Saturdays are a good day.
That's we basically, yeah, we do it on a Saturday because otherwise people have too many other things happening during the week.
Exactly.
And you know, if they work or have other things or have other commitments because of their spouses or one thing or another. So I'll kind of toss it around and we'll come up with a date. I'll send out an email to everybody and suggest the date and see how that passes.
Perfect.
Because
Thank
I
you.
still have to have the other VEs. You with me?
Right.
I mean, I got it's a whole group. It takes like 4, if not 5, okay, to do that. Okay.
Yes.
So yes, Melissa, I thought you had your hand up.
I just want to know, how do you guys normally advertise for the ham crams? Like where do you put announcements out into?
We'll put it out at our meetings like this, we put out posters, announcements, and we put it in like the post office or the shop, supermarkets, and where they have a bulletin board that we can do that, along with the number to call or how to get a hold of us on email.
Or the ledger?
Yes,
And
I
the
was gonna
paper- okay.
But we could do the ledger again.
I think we ought to do the ledger, and also I think there's some online postings for things that are going on in the county. We should try to get into those as well.
Does anyone have, I believe there's a Facebook page. Does anybody have access to the Facebook page for the club?
I don't think the club has a Facebook page.
I'm pretty
Oh.
sure it doesn't.
No,
Okay.
it doesn't. Yeah.
No, so you're in charge, Melissa, of posting it on.
I also usually advertise with the Firewatch networks, the GMRS people, because usually we get, a person or two from them, that maybe 3 that wants to upgrade to ham.
If someone were to make a Facebook page and give access to multiple people, would you be interested in such a thing happening for the club?
I don't
I don't
think
see
it
why
could do any
not.
harm.
Okay.
It's
The
another
real problem is
advertising thing.
keeping it interesting and up to date, right?
Yeah.
As the young people say, I can do that.
Oh, good, good. All right. So you're
Melissa, you've got a job.
Awesome,
Exactly.
yay!
But if you want to talk to young people, you have to do TikTok, not Facebook.
Oh,
I unfortunately also know how to do that too, but.
all right. All right.
Okay, sounds good. I'll get working on that.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
excellent.
Be able to advertise on KBGC in the community section too.
We have done that in the past. I don't know how much I don't think we got any response before. John and I used to be interviewed on both the television station and the radio station, but again, I don't think we got very good response. But we can do that again if we want to.
And I know the Ledger's always hungry for like human interest, good news stories, and I think this would be a great opportunity to get in there too.
Perfect. Yes.
Yeah, we've done that before also.
Do we
So,
do like
well,
next door?
we'll try to come up with a
or
date. Okay.
Anything like that?
I'm sorry.
Have we tried posting on like next door?
No,
I can do
haven't.
that too.
Actually, I did that last time. Last time we had a ham cram, I posted it on Nextdoor a few days ahead of time, but we could be more organized about that.
I'll get working on that.
Thank you. So you'll be our PR person, Melissa.
Yes, I would
there
love
you
to.
go.
I would love to be our PR marketing person.
Perfect. All right. You have a
Okay.
job. Yes.
Excellent.
Awesome.
I'm a
So we'll work
software
on a
guy
date.
too, so
I
We'll
could
work
put my
on
really
that.
expensive piece of paper that I got when I went to college to good use.
There you go.
Excellent.
Yes.
So we'll come up with a date. Okay. I'll talk with the VEs and find out where everybody is and make sure that we can get enough people. Okay. Because if we can't, then that is a crux. Okay. Because we only have, well, we've got about 8 or 9, but we all have our own schedule. So, excuse me. So I'll find a date.
You
Okay.
want-
And then I'll publish it.
Don, you want me to contact Dave Nicholson again? Or do you have his contact information?
No, I have his contact.
Okay, good, good. Okay, does anybody have any questions about the ham cram? Good. Next, I have a field day question mark. So do we want to do field day again, or? I guess that would be up to Dennis King to be in charge of that. Or,
Well, it doesn't have to be him, but
He was the
one
kind
who
of
did it
last year.
last.
So, or not last year before last.
Right. But you know, based on the last couple of years, there's been no interest in having a field day. So I'll talk to Dennis again and see if he wants to do it, but. Okay, well,
I
so,
think the
I'm
key is
interested. I came to the last one.
Yeah, I think the
Yeah.
key is having like 4 or 5 people who are really interested in it, right? That's what we did last year is we tried to say, you know, if there's several people who are interested, then it's a good idea to do it, right? So we need to have an interested set of people.
was last year the one we did at Mount Zion?
No, that was the year before,
That was the
Year
year before.
which actually I thought was a decent field day. Like
It was.
we had a
It
bunch of
was.
stuff and, you know,
But we
we had
have-
a bunch of contacts and
We have
Yes.
no problem in getting that to happen.
This is Lee. I am interested in helping with that, but I am not capable of running an event like that. I'm not technically knowledgeable, but I would more than like help with that.
Well,
Okay.
excellent. That no problem. We
Yeah.
can always use the help.
Yes.
So Lee, we'll put you down in the minutes. We'll put you down as one of the field day participants. Okay, and help
Perfect.
organize it. So
Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you. All right.
so are we going to do the field day on ARRL field day?
I don't think there's any reason to do it on a different day. I mean, they
Right.
just
Okay.
had winter field day like a couple of days
Okay.
ago. Right?
And so what, Joe, do you know what day that is?
The last weekend in June. It's the last weekend in June.
Last weekend in June.
Not
Correct.
always. Sometimes they slip another
Not
one in
all-
there. It's the
yeah.
fourth
It is-
Saturday.
It is
Fourth
June
Saturday of the month.
24th.
I always thought it was the last weekend, but.
No,
might
it
be
is
wrong.
not. It is the
No.
fourth
It's the
weekend.
fourth full
fourth,
weekend
okay.
in June.
All right.
So it's the 24th of June. And the next day, I think.
It's Saturday and Sunday, yes.
Okay.
25th.
Howard, are you out there? I guess Howard's not out there. We'll have to contact, we have
I
a
am,
new,
I am here now.
we have a new, CAL FIRE representative up at the tower now, right?
Yes,
Do you know them?
yes,
I have the name, but that's about all.
yeah,
So
I
we
can
should-
make that contact.
Would you-
We have we have a date on field day. If we want to do it up there, you know, some people discussed that it was pretty hot where we were located and maybe, you know, before we lock in on it, we ought to get a committee together and talk about it.
Thank you, Howard.
Just an idea, but
Well, one year we had it up at Peddler Hill. And it would be cooler up there if, but
mhm.
we can decide that in the future. They have that great open area out there at Peddler Hill.
I've
We're
heard
looking
that
at
the,
June,
I
is that
heard the
correct?
road is washed out into Peddler Hill now. Pretty bad shape.
What is washed out?
The road into Peddler Hill is in very bad condition.
Oh, well, scratch that then. I remember it was a dirt road going up there, and it wasn't too good a shape the last time. But,
Yeah, it was challenging even at that time.
yes. So we'll scratch that location. Yes.
Paul, why don't we send out an email and ask how much interest there is in having a field day to the members? Okay,
Okay.
and then go from there and I mean, if we have 3 people, maybe that's, yeah. What do you
Right.
think? Okay?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay,
I'll do
please
that.
do that.
Yeah, I'll do that. Okay, next, the annual barbecue. Do we want to have another barbecue again this year?
Oh,
I'll
the barbecue.
volunteer to cook again. If you guys want.
Yes, that's the key thing. If somebody's willing to cook, the barbecue was a lot of fun.
I think
Exactly,
it's a
yes,
good thing. Yes,
yes. All right,
let's do that.
okay.
When?
When? Michael, it's up to you. You're cooking, so you choose the date.
Well, when did we do it last year, Howard?
It was
I
beginning
know
of
it
July,
was-
wasn't it?
It wasn't on the 4th of July last year. I know that. So
It was not the 4th of July. It was,
No.
no.
It was right after 4th of July.
16th. It was the 16th
yeah.
of July.
And I think that was our in-person meeting for that year or for that month was the barbecue, I think.
Yes, yeah.
So, and we want to do, an in-person meeting. I thought we said we wanted to do one every quarter or something.
No, we said it twice a year, the
Twice a year.
barbecue and on December.
Right, okay. So that is our midsummer in-person meeting. So,
Correct.
but you can pick any time, but you can't pick the 4th because I can't come on the 4th because I do the church barbecue on the 4th.
We can do the 15th. That's roughly equivalent to what it was last year.
Is that a Saturday?
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
I'll make
Why
the
don't we
contact and
go-
lock down a reservation for that date.
Can we get the park then? That's what I mean.
I'll make the reservation.
Thank you.
So we're on the books for the 15th then.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, and both you and Howard, yes. Thank you. All right, good. That's it for as far as new business. And does anybody have any questions or comments about anything?
I do.
Go ahead.
I wanted to direct this to Melissa. I thought she did such a good job on the net the other night. If I didn't know better, I would have thought she's done it 100 times. It was very
Oh,
good.
It was, all of that is thanks to Howard because he helped make sure I was set up with a really good antenna ahead of time.
Ah.
Good antenna is part of the key, but you
And,
did.
and he got me tuned in and working that afternoon, and that it's literally Howard's fault.
Well, you handled
you
it very, very well.
You seem
You
to
gotta
really
give
know
yourself
what
a
you
lot
were
of
doing.
credit on that, Melissa, because you pulled it off really well.
Thank
Good.
you. I know, Joe, I think, are you still out of the area this month?
No, I got back today about an hour
Okay.
before this meeting started.
Okay. So if anybody needs help the rest of the month, I don't mind helping wherever.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I'm not going to be able to do the net on a regular basis. So I think I could do it this month, but I think I have to, the problem is I have enough things coming up now that, and my schedule is uncertain enough. Like if something happens, I have to leave. And so
Joe, which Tuesdays are you scheduled for?
the Tuesday I used to do was the 4th Tuesday of the month, which this month is, hold on. Was it the 4th Tuesday of the month is 1, 2, 3. It's the 28th. It's the last day of the month.
So,
And,
and you can do it then?
no, I can't. actually.
Oh, okay. Well,
I can do
Melissa,
it.
Okay.
I am out of town from the 26th till like the middle of March, probably.
So do you want Melissa to take over from you for the 4th Tuesdays of every month?
I think that would be great.
Okay.
And Melissa, if I'm here and you want me to do it, I can do it for you.
Okay, no worries. That would be awesome. I look forward to it. nice to be able to have.
Sounds like you're doing a great job.
I'm glad that you guys allowed me to do it again.
Good.
Melissa, it's Don.
Yes,
Did you publish a report on the net?
that was going to be my question. Who do I send that to?
The whole club.
The whole club.
Well,
Okay.
and it's especially me.
Okay.
Well, you have to send it to me so I can put it in the Aries
You
report.
just send it to K6ARC at K6ARC.org. Everyone should get it.
Okay, perfect. I will do that.
Thank
And
you.
I do have a bit of news about that whenever you're ready for me to talk. That's old business, I think, but whatever.
Can I ask one more question before I mute myself again? I don't know if any of you know of the Jamboree over the air for the Boy Scouts.
Yes, we have done stuff for that in the past, although not for a couple of years now.
Okay, so it's October, the third weekend of October. If I were to try and put something together, would anyone be interested in helping with that?
I'm in town, sure.
Yes,
Yes.
I've
Okay.
done that before a couple
Okay.
of times. I've participated in that.
Sometimes we set up a station down there and then we'd get a bunch of people at home to talk to them on the repeater or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Because I work with the Upcountry Troop and I could get them, and I know if I put it out there, all the other ones will just join in too.
Yeah,
So-
they used to do that at like the Italian picnic grounds or something.
Right.
Yes, yes.
All right.
I would be willing to help with that also.
Awesome. Okay. I'll talk to our council first and then get that going so we can have that.
Perfect. So
Okay, cool.
Melissa, you're taking over on the 4th and 5th Tuesdays of the month?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
I looked up the 5th and there's only, I think, 3 the whole year. So
Something
Yeah,
like
there's
that.
normally either 2 or 3.
yeah. Okay, perfect. I'm on. That's it. I'll do that.
Thank you.
Really?
And-
Awesome.
all right,
Thank you.
John McKenzie has a question in the chat, and I think he's asking about what the net controls are about. John, you want to ask your question?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, basically, I haven't even pulled my handheld out of the box yet, so I'm still a newbie and just learning everything. So
Okay, well, we're
don't even know
talking-
what a field day is, to be honest, but I'm up for it.
okay. Field day
Oh,
is
good, volunteer.
Field Day is a national event. It's run by the ARRL, Amateur Radio Relay League, and that's the National Ham Radio Agency. And every year on the fourth weekend of June, they have all of the ham clubs and operators across the nation try to get as many contacts as they can across the nation. So it's a nationwide event. It's good practice for radio operators to be in contact with others, and it's good Aries participation because we're out there with only battery operated radios, and so that's it's good emergency exercise. So every year we the clubs get together and try to transmit. So basically that's it. There's also a link in the chat now for that. And then we have, I guess you haven't, we have our net check-in every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. on our two frequencies, the VHF and UHF frequencies, and everybody in the club checks in on those on at that time. And so again, it's just you're testing your equipment, and that's basically what that is. So that's we need net control to coordinate all of this. And that's what Melissa was her first time doing that, and I guess she did a good job. So but that's basically what that's all about. And Dan, go ahead, you have your hand up. Dan.
Oh,
Dan.
here I am. Yeah, I didn't know
Okay.
I had my hand up. I apologize. Didn't mean to.
Oh, okay. All right. There's no problem. So, John, does that answer your questions or?
Yeah. So I'm definitely up for attending that and learning.
Good. Okay, good. So you haven't even, your radio is still in the box?
Yeah, I got the free one from the Gigaparts after I got my call sign, and just
Good.
still haven't even opened the box.
Okay. That's all right. There's no problem. It's a lifelong learning experience. So yeah, you just take your time, and we'll hear you on the air sometime. Every Tuesday at 7:30.
Okay, Tuesday, 7:30.
Correct. And you know our two frequencies, right?
Probably not, I guess.
Well, it's 146.835 is our VHF frequency, and I don't know the UHF frequency. It's 44.
Minus offset and a PL tone of 100.
Correct. Yes.
It's one of the few
And,
things also you can find on the website that's accurate.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And Lindsay, that did you put out 3 questions? You needed some documents.
I got everything. I got everything I asked for, and also before the end of this month, there will be an updated version of the website posted. I'm very close to getting to it.
All right, good, good.
I've had a lot of things pulling me in a lot of different directions. But
That's all right. That's all right.
It's there before the end of the month for sure.
Thank you very much for doing that. It's been years since it's been updated, so it's thank you. Anybody have any other questions?
I do have one. This is Lee.
Sure.
John, since your radio is still in the box, do you know how to program a offset and a PL tone into the radio and not just the frequency?
I will be learning everything from zero. So
okay, it's not always easy from the very beginning. I was in that situation a couple of years ago. So please ask somebody, or I am not an expert on it, but I can do it now. I can help you, or find somebody to help you program that offset and the PL into there. It's not difficult, but you got to understand it.
YouTube videos are helpful.
Yeah, and I'm very tech savvy. Like, I'm a software engineer, so I'm sure I can find it online too.
Well, John, this is Don. This is W6FS.
Program your radio.
That radio that you got from Gigaparts is very user friendly. It was programmed for brand new hams, period. Okay, the menus are changed so that it's very intuitive, as I understand. I've not seen it, but it's very intuitive on how to program it. Or that's what Gigaparts said.
And John, if you want to join us for Party Pardee bike ride, you can. It'll be good experience programming and using your radio. So if you want to join us for Party Pardee, it's Saturday, April 1st. You don't need any experience to go out in a sag wagon or be at a rest stop. So that's
I think I already signed up.
He's already signed up.
Okay, okay, good,
So,
oh, good,
you're-
good.
Your invitation has hit hollow ears.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one thing to add before I have to leave.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
So a bunch of people were not getting mail on volcano.net email addresses for a while. So I spent literally a couple of hours on the phone with them, and because of the church, which also uses JustHost, just like we do for our list. They basically at the beginning of December changed to a different email provider. And the result of that was a lot of mail to volcano.net addresses was being rejected because their provider wasn't, the setup didn't happen right. And so they ended up on a blocked list. So a lot of destinations out there were not forwarding mail to volcano.net email addresses. So if you have a volcano.net email address, which you were using to receive club emails, you may not have received a bunch of mails during that period. I think it's mostly fixed now because on our church list, most people are now getting them. But about 2 weeks ago, I was doing a ton of debugging on this with Volcano, and they eventually I got to a person who told me what the problem really was. So I always encourage everybody to use a free email address that's not at volcano.net to receive mail. But if you have one, it should be working now. And if it's not, call Volcano and tell them.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. And Dan, you still have your hand up? Is that a mistake?
I didn't think I had my hand up.
Yes.
Oh my, okay, I'll try to take it down.
The same spot where you raised your hand, you can look, there it goes. Okay.
Yeah.
I think he was volunteering for everything. No? That's not true?
You
Oh.
got to remember, don't raise your hand.
So you can't leave now. You have to stay here in California now.
I will say I did find the amateur radio club in Colorado Springs. This will be no shock. It's called the Pikes Peak Amateur Radio Club.
Getting out of California, huh?
Yeah.
So you have to give us a contact on field day then.
Oh, we will. All right. Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions or comments or complaints or?
I'm going to make one announcement.
Sure. Go ahead.
Right now I'm planning for the March meeting of doing a presentation on radio procedures for events and emergency operations. So I'll get everybody ready for the party.
All right. That will be great. Thank you. Good. Very good. And I know that I have the list of etiquette that we're supposed to follow, but and Don always sends out an email with the proper etiquette, but that would be perfect. Yes.
Those forms, we have those forms, so we always send them out to the operators. So
And party is April 1st this year, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I know a couple of years ago that there was a death involved, and the name of the person went out over the air before we had a chance to silence it. But so that it's very important to send out the etiquette before the event. Yes, that would be great. Thank you. So any other questions or comments? I think that's it. And Mary Ann, if you're still listening.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. The meeting is now closed at 8:27.